Hi everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of Quietly Ambitious. In today's day and age, I've seen people choose careers which are more front facing, which are more visible, which are more out there. And whereas on the contrary, I saw a LinkedIn study reporting that 70% of workforce is happier when they're in a responsible and reliable role compared to being a visible one. Today's podcast is about a very similar experience, about a very similar shift which happened from journalism to a company secretary at a budding startup or at a leading startup. And in between, my guest today and a very good friend of mine, Neha Jain, also navigated motherhood, which comes with its own kind of responsibilities. So Neha, thanks a lot for being a part of our podcast today.
No, thank you. Thank you, Geeta, because today my social media is going to go ballistic. I'm on a podcast and on Geeta's podcast. So I'm going to be a rock star very soon. But thank you for inviting me.
So Neha is a very good friend of mine, and she has a habit of pulling me up, as you just saw. Well, that's that. Thanks a lot for that
Yeah.
whole energy which you got with you. So let's start right from the beginning, Neha. You were a journalist. Journalism has its own kind of bylines, storylines, whatever we've heard about journalism, and always being front facing. What was something which you enjoyed the most in your career as a journalist? Was it like the adrenaline rush? Was it like your name out being out there on the camera, or was it just like covering those stories? So yeah.
So that's a good question. In fact, I would say it's a mix of everything, right? So I don't have a professional journalism background. It just happened to me, luck by chance. So one day I was just sitting, I was studying for company secretaryship, which is my primary role. So I was just sitting around and watching television, and I saw this ad. Very popular guy on TV9. I don't want to name him because he has a great mass following, mustache, and a big tummy, but extremely popular. And he comes on television and he's like, "Do you want to be an anchor? Do you have it in you to captivate an entire audience?" And I'm like, yeah, I do. And then he's like, then walk in with your resume at Rainier Street, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, let me just give it a shot. Why not? And I sort of just picked up my resume with no journalism background, walked into their office. And they had a very interesting set of interview rounds. It was more like pick and speak sort of topics. And I cleared those. And finally, there was this very interesting thing. They said if you can pronounce three words that we say, and if you crack this, you'll be a journalist with us and you'll be, our anchor and correspondent. And I was like, okay, go for it. And very simple words. They were economy, economical, and economist. And I was like, seriously? Like, these are the words that you gave me to become a journalist at News9. And I cracked it and I had the job offer in my hand. So it was a very interesting story. And instantly I became a hit in my gully, in my neighborhood. My mom was like, you know what? My daughter is a journalist. She comes on television, my family members. But I think that's what I enjoyed the most, the fame and that rush, that adrenaline when you face the camera. That was what I loved.
So you were like that Jain ji ki beti coming on TV.
यार यहाँ क्या कहते हैं जैन जी की बेटी देखो क्या मतलब कॉलेज में पढ़ती थी जर्नलिस्ट बन गई टीवी पे आती है या मे बी दैट वाज माय हीरो मोमेंट
Yeah. So were there any stories which you would like to share with our viewers? Something which stayed with you, something which changed you, something which went wrong, probably which you still remember after so many years?
Yeah, I mean, so many stories, everything. There were so many moments that, because it's a very fast paced environment, right? And you get very little time to do your research. And if you don't come with a journalism background, then there's a lot of scope for goof ups. So I was asked to interview this very popular South star called Dunya Vijay. And I had no idea about who this person was. And they asked me to interview him because I was filling in for somebody who was on sick leave, and she was our lifestyle journalist, but I was filling in for her because she was on sick leave. So I did like a basic research. He was here for promoting his movie, and I thought, I'm going to ask him about 5-10 questions about his movie, and then we'll go back. So I went there. I asked him the set of questions. The interview went very well, and after I came back, when I came back to office, there were about 20-25 cab drivers who used to drive us, who used to take us around Bangalore. These drivers waiting for me, and they wanted to know about Dunya Vijay. They were like, "How is he, ma'am? What happened? Did you take pictures with him?" And I was like, "No, I didn't take a picture." And they're like, "What is wrong with you? How did you miss a picture with Dunya Vijay? He's a hero. He's our idol." And I was like, "Okay." So that taught me, there's a lot of cultural weightage which I ignored when I became a journalist, and then my research became stronger, and I started reading up more about the person than about the questions I wanted to ask him. So
Got it.
that
Yeah.
that was a very interesting thing, and after that, I think I started honing those skills.
But how is the experience of shooting with Dunya Vijay? Not that I know who is,
But
but
he's a huge South star. He's like very popular with the masses, and unfortunately, even I didn't know that.
oh,
So it was great. It was amazing. It of course I should have known, and I should have then taken pictures. So I could have showed off such. I've got pictures with Dunya Vijay.
yeah. But anyway, so we've spoken about your journalism career and some stories. Then, at what point of time did you decide to switch? Like, was it like a very, just like you decided I'll just leave it and do something else? Was it like that sort of a decision, or did it happen in a slow manner where you realizing that maybe this it's not for me, and I would move to a more company secretarial sort of a role now?
Yeah, yeah. So it was very little drama. It was not like one day I walked into my boss's office and say, "Hey, listen, I quit." It wasn't like that. It was a lot of very it gave a lot of thought, and that's how it came to me because journalism is not an easy field. First of all, it's the unreasonable hours they get to you, right? If you're a spinster, it's good to do it because you don't have a family, you don't have kids. It's easier to manage. But if you're married and if you have kids, then it starts getting on to you. So there was this point when I was asleep, and in journalism, it's an unsaid rule that they can call you at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. anytime, and you're supposed to sort of attend to those calls and go and report your stories. So I was asleep, and my boss called me and he said, "Listen, the cab and the camera guy are under your building. Get ready. This little girl from Mounts, she's committed suicide, and you need to go cover it." Okay, and I'm a young person of probably that girl's age who committed suicide, and I need to go and cover her story. And I'm getting ready. I need to look presentable because I'm on camera. So I'm wearing like my little makeup. I'm wearing my lipstick, and imagine the thoughts that are going on in my mind. I'm sort of getting ready to go and cover somebody's death. And then on my way to her house, he was briefing me about, what really happened. And these are the questions you need to ask. Okay. And when I went there, the situation was horrible. Like I'm having goosebumps even when I'm describing it right now. It was horrible. Like her mom and her dad were mourning, grieving. Her entire family was there. The police had cordoned off the area, and I'm supposed to sort of slip in, get a bite of what her parents are feeling, what exactly happened. So that sort of those kind of stories start taking, a small, they start chipping away something from you. And that is when I decided that, the fun and the frolic part is good, but when you have to cover these emotional stories, I wasn't meant for it. I mean, you need to have a heart of steel to do this, and you can't show your emotions on camera. You can't be like, your eyes can't be welling up. You need to look very emotionless, and you're reporting news. You need to look very neutral. And that is something that I couldn't do up for. It's not very sustainable, is what I thought. So the unreasonable hours, this emotionless reporting is something that got to me. Maybe because I didn't study this field and I just got into it because it was a chance that I got this opportunity. That's why. But yeah, that's my moment. Not just like one moment, but a lot of things piled up, and that is when I decided that this is not for me.
Yeah, so I've known you for like 2 years now, and I think you're a very emotional sort of a person. Now that you're telling me this story, I think you can pull off whatever life throws at you.
Yeah,
But this might be something which revolves around not being that emotional.
yeah,
So I understand.
yeah.
So let's talk about the current role. The company secretary part of your career. So how would you define this part? Because you were there in Infosys, yeah, assistant company
Yeah.
secretary. So, how would you define this part of your life, from the last 12, 13, 14 odd years, I think. Yeah. So, how would you define that?
So yeah, I
Mm.
was with Infi for about almost 10 years. I started my career with Infosys, and I can't be more thankful to God, to my family for this opportunity that I got through them. Right, I got this opportunity through a family member. I can't be more thankful. Infosys is a great place. It's like the most well governed company of
Definitely.
our country.
Yeah.
Very compliant. It's a great place to start off with, and which is why I stuck around for almost 10 odd years. And yeah, I mean, for a company secretary, it's a dream job. Everyone would ask me, "How did you get into Infosys?" I mean, that's something that I would always get asked, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe just being at the right place at the right time. And I got the opportunity to work with the founders of Infosys very closely because that's what my role demands, right? We
Yeah.
conduct board meetings, so as part of my role, we interact with founders very often. So I got to interact with Mr. Murthy, with Nandan Nilekani, with Kiran Mazumdar Shaw, and I only got to learn so much from all of them. So yeah, my experience at Infosys was excellent. And of course, it was not as fast paced like journalism, but yes, it did come with its own set of pros and cons.
Yeah, so this is more towards, legal and compliance.
Yes.
So could you elaborate on your role? Like, what do you exactly do? Like, in a much simpler terms for us to understand that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
In laywoman terms, I would say my role, like you said, it's corporate law.
Yeah.
And it's legal. Basically, conducting shareholder meetings, board meetings, making sure that a company is compliant, and if there is any license, any registration that we need to sort of take, it is us as company secretaries. We make sure that these licenses and registrations are in place. And apart from this, we also have statutory audits that we help conducting, and we interact with shareholders on a day in and day out basis. So this is generally the bread and butter of what a company secretary does, right? Making sure that the company is well governed. If it's a listed company, then you have like 100 other compliances and checklists that you need to follow as a listed company. So yeah, this is what my job entails, and it's very different from what I did like for about 1 or 2 years in journalism. It's extremely rewarding in terms of when you come back home satisfied that you've done something that you're happy about doing. So this job is something that it's not my dream job. It's not something that I dreamt of. I didn't want to become a company secretary, but now I'm extremely happy. I'm extremely satisfied. I'm so proud of what I do and the contributions that I bring to the organization. Yeah.
Okay, so during your time at Infosys, did you also work like 70 hours a week? Because that is what has been going around.
The controversial 70 hours by Mr. Murthy. Yes. So I wouldn't say I worked 70 hours a week every week, but there are these seasonal
Yeah,
times when you do work 70 hours or maybe more than that. And it's not just Infi, most of our startups are infamous for making people work.
Definitely.
I'm sure you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
right? It's not, nobody has these specific time limits. Everyone expects you to work for maybe 90 hours a week.
Agree. Yeah, yeah. Being an Indian founder means you are on work 24/7.
So, exactly. You need to be on call.
Yeah, yeah,
You need to be
definitely.
available.
But how did moving from Infi to Browser Stack would have been such a big change for you? Because one is like a corporate and established organization, whereas Browser Stack is a very big startup. I would like to quote it that way. So how did that transition happen? And obviously there'll be a lot of changes in your roles and responsibility. You were joining at a much senior role. So how did that happen, and how are you liking it?
Oh, I love it. I love it at Browser Stack. It's a lovely place. And they like to call themselves a startup, but Browser Stack, if you listen to their numbers, they're not a startup by any
Yeah, yeah, I've heard.
It's a leading.
So I know you're not a
It's
startup.
like
Yeah.
any mid-sized, they can, compete with any mid-sized Indian company. That's the numbers and that's the scale at which they operate. So, but of course, not in comparison to Infi. Infi is like huge, it's established, and their policies, processes are all in place. Everything is very watertight. But in Browser Stack, it's extremely agile. Like anyone would say, this they run like a startup. It's very lean teams. There is no timing, and by no means I'm demeaning that by when I say there is no timings, because we work from home. Everyone
Yeah.
works remotely. So everyone sort of manages their professional and personal life in a very mature way. Right. So if I'm working at 11 a.m. At 11 a.m. Sorry, at 11 p.m. In the night, then next day morning I sort of take it slow and then I log in a little later. So that flexibility is always there. So Browser Stack that way gives you the wings to fly and do what you like. Because the teams are lean, you get to do a lot of things. I'm not just restricted to my company secretary role. I also do a lot of treasury, banking management, investor relationships, international relationships. So I handle a lot of other things. um, and established organizations, unfortunately, you don't get to do that because, like I mentioned, the departments are very watertight, right? If you're doing legal, then only a legal member can do it. If you're doing CS, then only a company secretary can do that. So that's one advantage of working at a startup always.
Yeah, so I think fortunately all my guests till now have been startup people only.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and I feel that all of us have defined our roles in such a way that we want to be like in a small company but have a bigger role to play,
Yeah.
rather than being in a big company and just have a smaller role to
Role
play.
to play.
So yeah, let's diverse into the topic of how would you define your career now? Because journalism is more out there, more front facing. So what would you call this part of your career? Is it like a someone at the back end who's making sure that nothing goes wrong? So how would you define that?
Yeah, I mean, well said. This is a more back end role as opposed to a camera front facing role. But this role is extremely crucial as well.
Yeah.
Okay, because I remember when I joined Infosys, Mr. Murthy had told me this. This was, I think, on our third or fourth quarterly board meeting. So in Fino, the boardrooms, they're huge, right? And they have like big chairs, massive chairs, not like these regular chairs that we sit on.
Yeah.
And Mr. Murthy, me, all of us are very petite, right? When you're sitting on these chairs, you look like these tiny individuals, and these chairs are huge. So I asked him once, and I was like, "Why are these chairs so huge and uncomfortable?" So he said, "These chairs are big because they are a reminder of the fact that the weight of the chair, the role that you assume is so huge. The decisions that you take for this organization not just affects the company, its shareholders, but the country at large.
Yeah.
So it's a big reminder of the fact that you are a very tiny individual and the role that you're assuming is so big." And I was so impressed. I was like, wow, this man just walks the talk. He's so impressive. So yeah, that's the role that I play right now, right? I play an extremely important, very crucial role. Not many people know what a company secretary does. But if you're a listed organization, then the role of a company secretary becomes extremely crucial.
Totally.
And you can't do without one.
Plus, I think it's very important. Company secretary has a very important role to play when company wants to go IPO or
Yeah.
wants to
Yes.
enter the market. So I think that role is extremely crucial. Is what I've understood
Yes.
from
Yes.
you.
Yes. Yeah.
So and but when when I'm hearing you, when I'm hearing your current experience, I feel like there's a lot of saying no to a lot of important people like the founders, the CEOs, and the CFOs, and be like, okay, no, this is not done. So how do you do that? Because a lot of people won't be able to do it in their careers. Like I can't do it. I can't give it back to the founder because I feel that it would affect my relationship. But how do you manage it?
Yeah, I mean, you have to massage a lot of egos. You have to
Totally.
take care of a lot of people's, they feel like you can't hurt their dignity and their egos, right? And big fat egos that people come with. But I think you eventually learn to say no. Right?
Yeah.
It's part of your job. You evolve. Like even I was not like that. I was a very docile personality, and eventually I, picked up from the exposures that you get in life. You pick up and you learn to say no. You learn to say this is how it's done. And frankly, fortunately, a lot of people have started realizing the importance of compliance in this country.
Yes.
Back in the day, compliance was a checklist, but today a lot of people know that if you're not compliant and if you're not well governed, then it can backfire in so many ways. So, the importance of a compliance officer has improved, and their seat in the boardroom is more sealed and more frozen these days.
Yeah, I think now that, in our generation, like in the current founder generation, I've seen a lot of people say no to things because it's not compliant. And yeah, because in the earlier days, they were like, okay,
Let's
कैसे
get
काम
the
करना
work
है?
around. It's India, right?
Yeah,
Then
जुगाड़ करो, हाँ.
Yes, you can get your
Yeah.
work done. Let's just do it. Let's just, try a under the table method. But nowadays, everyone's very particular, at least this generation. Even the previous generation was, I wouldn't say they were non compliant. But yes, like you said, the Jugaad ways would always work.
Yeah. But we're still in India. That is still an element of our personalities.
Yeah.
But somehow, in my current experience of talking to founders, I feel like compliance has taken the front seat for a lot of them.
Yes.
So that's great. Let's talk about motherhood now, Neha, because that is also an important part of, of shaping the way you are professionally and personally. So, how has motherhood changed your perspective towards ambition? Or, how has it made you better as a working professional? Is something I would like to understand.
Oh God, this is such a tough question because every time somebody broaches this motherhood topic, I'm like, if you can, just avoid it for as long as you can. Because I'm like,
Well, they still, I don't know, 20 minutes. So, yeah.
yeah, I mean, of course, see, your biological clock and your career clock is always at conflict.
Yes,
Right? So
yes.
you need to sort of prioritize motherhood as well. But before I had Ram, my 10-year-old, today he's 10, he's 10. Before I had him, everything was about climbing up the corporate ladder really fast, achieving your milestones and designations. You're running behind titles, you're running behind money and success. But after I had Ram, I realized that your priorities do change, and you can take it slow. You can pace your success markers in a slightly slower fashion, but that doesn't mean you're less ambitious. Ram has obviously taken priority. Today he's 10, he's more independent. But 5 years back, I did take it slow. And I was not chasing any, corporate deadline or any corporate title. So that's what changed.
Yeah, so I mean that's also a learning for us as mothers because I feel like mothers manage a lot.
Yeah.
So and not give up.
Master multitask.
So multitasking and yeah, I mean that also teaches us a lot. Just to get going and just be like, okay, chalte raho. कहीं ना कहीं तो कुछ हो जाएगा.
Something you will achieve.
Totally. So, Neha, let's talk about the quietly ambitious part of your journey. So, what are those quiet wins which you have achieved in your career, in your personal life? Any quiet wins which you would like to share with our viewers?
Wow, that's a good question. Nicely, she has slipped quietly ambitious. The branding
The name of the podcast is
podcast
Quietly
ambitious. So, good question, actually. Very interesting. So, I think my personality is something I'm proud, quietly, not quietly, I would say loudly proud of, actually. So, I have evolved as a person. I wasn't born this way, like, a bubbly and a happy and a very easygoing, flexible person. But I have evolved as a person, and I think a lot of people give me this compliment that, we love your personality. You're very easygoing. Instantly, it's easy to click and talk to. I mean, look at us. We met like what 2 years back in yoga class, and today we're so thick. We're like best of friends, right?
Yeah.
So that's something I'm very proud of. That I can always make easy small talk conversations, and I mean, I'm a very flexible person. Yeah.
And
Very
I think that all this flexibility is because of the career decisions which you've
because of the career decisions I've taken. That's how it's shaped me as a personality, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, I've known you to be like this only, easygoing, not giving up, managing like 10,000 things and be like, okay, ho jayega.
You're being very nice. That's how all of us are, right? Mostly mums are like that. We're used to those. We have like 10 hands and we're
Yeah.
juggling all of your tasks together.
Agree. And I think that's the reason for starting Quietly Ambitious, to put that out in front of the world that, parenthood is tough.
Is tough, but you'll get through.
Yeah, you will get
Yeah,
through.
there's no single formula, magic bullet, but yeah.
And I think a lot of it is also around the fact that people are in the same boat.
Yeah.
Whether they're vocal about it or not.
Or
And, might as well be vocal about it and see.
so just be vulnerable and seek help. Why not? Yeah.
So, Neha, since you're my, I want to introduce a new segment in my podcast, which is the rapid fire.
The guinea pig.
Yeah, you're the guinea pig, probably. So, I'll shoot some questions and you'll get like 30 seconds to answer.
Tonic with Geeta. You should call it gin and tonic with Geeta.
That's a good idea. If this becomes successful, definitely. G&T is GDH, probably. So, I'm going to shoot questions at you and you have to answer in 30 seconds.
Wow.
Okay?
Lovely.
And I'm going to look at the time and keep a timer. I'm letting you know because you have a habit of cheating. So, okay, I'm starting. What is that one thing which motherhood has taught you?
Motherhood has taught me that it's a constant battle and nobody tells you that it never ends. Okay, once a mother, always a mother. Okay.
And what is one take from journalism which has stayed with you throughout your life or will stay with you throughout your life?
So, a serious answer for this would be do your research extremely well. Journalism has taught me, doing research, strong research is very important. And a light answer to that is, gossip. Like, I love gossiping, and that journalism, that kida, of gossip, that's journalism is, brought that kida in me. And asking a lot of follow-up questions, showing ultra interest in someone's story. And my husband always tells me, he's like, why would you care? Why were you asking her so many nosy questions? And I'm like, no, I want to know what's happening in her life. So that is something that journalism taught me.
I think that's just general because I'm not a journalist and I love social media. I think that's how we bond.
That's why we bond.
And these husbands try to be like very righteous. I can't think of a better word, but then they also want to hear. They all like, go see what are we at? The last question here is one career decision that looked boring but was actually right.
My current career decision, it looks very boring. It looks like you're wearing like a black coat and going to office and attending meetings, but it's actually a very interesting role. And I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything else.
Wow. So, I mean, you are a pretty flexible person, but it's great learning from your experiences today. And this brings me to the end of our podcast, Neha. Thanks a lot for being a part of the podcast today. To all our viewers, our story today resonated with the fact that, just keep going and don't give up and just face whatever life throws at you. And that's what Neha did. And she embraced it and she's currently loving her role. So let us know what do you want to hear next in the upcoming podcast. And we'll be back with more such conversations which are unfiltered. This one was specifically unfiltered because it was a friend of mine. But yeah, we'll be back with more such conversations. Thank you so much.